Welcome to Team Bandwagon, where it is okay to jump ship, but it's not okay to lose. Jump on Team Bandwagon and never lose again.
You are now listening to Team Bandwagon Never Lose Again podcast. And now for your hosts, Jamal Brown and Nicholas Garcia.
Well, it's a little different this week. I know the intro says Jamal and I are going to do the show, but it's just me right now. Jamal has other pressing matters to attend to. So it might be like this way for a little while, so hopefully I'm not too boring for you guys. I try to bring energy. I try to have fun. Obviously, Jamal brings a lot of energy to the show too, and I like talking sports with him. I like talking a lot of topics with Jamal, but this show's mainly about sports. But Jamal has a lot going on, so it might be like this for a while. Not sure if I'm going to do a show next week. I'm going to try really hard. But it is a week of Christmas, so I asked that you guys be understanding. You guys probably going to be busy anyway, but I still may do like a Christmas episode or something. A lot of fun topics. One of the issues a lot of people are talking about right now is Die Hard, a Christmas movie. Even ESPN got in on that. I don't know if you guys saw that. Jamal likes talking about that one too, and one of our guests, Jesus, and a couple of people we know mutually have talked about it. So just a quick recap. If you're new to the show or if you've never heard it before, the way this show started is Jamal and I would run into each other about once a week and drive our wives literally crazy. They would have to pull us apart because we'd start talking sports in the hallway. And he goes, hey, man, I think this would be a good idea to do as a podcast. We seem to have really elaborate conversations. And I said, hey, man, let's do it. So anyway, it's taken off from there. Still trying to grow our base. Hopefully we're entertaining you guys somewhat. Put out on Instagram and Facebook a couple weeks ago that I had, there's some changes were coming. Wanted to hear some ideas and input. So if you guys are watching this or listening, hit us up. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. Well, I guess it's just me. Hit me up. Jamal's still helping me a lot with the production part of the show. So let us know what ideas you have, what thoughts you have, what you want me to talk about. If you want to be a part of the show, I'm sure we can work that out. Do an interview, do a phone call, whatever we got to do. Just hit us up. Lots been going on. I didn't get to the show last week. This is all kind of new for me. Running the video and the music and the microphones and all. This is Jamal's department, so I'm doing the best I can. So just roll with the rough draft that will go on YouTube. Just enjoy it. A lot going on. We have a new segment of the show called I Have the Mic. For those of you, you know what? That's a good topic we'll start off with. For those of you playing in Week 16, your fantasy football playoffs, or if you're crazy enough that you have a Week 17 fantasy football playoff that's coming up, there's a lot going down. There's a lot of injuries. Aaron Jones might not play this weekend. More than likely won't play this weekend. Melvin Gordon is expected to play. Keenan Allen is hurt, not expected to play. James Conner not expected to play. Todd Gurley is in danger of not playing. That could mess up my championship. I made it to the Team Bandwagon Finals, and I'm hoping to win. And if Todd Gurley doesn't play, it's going to be a very rough day for me. We'll see what happens. Hopefully you guys are ready. Hopefully you don't have Carson Wentz and you're in the championship. If you do, you better go get Nick Foles or somebody who's out there. Fantasy football, I enjoy it. I think it's partly, I would guarantee it's at least 15 to 20% of the NFL's audience right now. Football is the most watched sport in America, and I think it definitely helps that people enjoy fantasy football as much as they do. I know a lot of people who do not care that much about football. They want something to do with their friends. So, it's fun to get into. It's December. Not a lot of college football on. There was last Saturday, but it was all kind of small fish, small fry pickings. I think they had Tulane playing and games like that. We'll talk about the college football playoffs coming up, but there's a lot of other bowl games coming up too that you guys might be interested in. Check your local providers. Rose Bowl's January 1st, yada, yada, yada. But the championship playoff games start December 29th. What else are we going to talk about today? Yeah. Fantasy football. Good stuff. Jamal has a lot going on, so just be patient with me, and let's just try to enjoy the show. So with that being said, I've got a few topics. We're going to go ahead and roll into them because this was just kind of an intro. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then I would promise I will be more prepared for you guys for the next slide.
Hi, my name is Stefan Thomas, and I'm one of the co-creators of The Creative Extreme. The Creative Extreme is an entertainment company that produces all kinds of fun fictional content. We have created over 600 incredible characters and a multitude of stories starring these wonderful heroes and villains. If you take a look at our page, you'll see dozens of character images as well as panels from our digital comic strips. We're also producing videos and podcasts about our characters and stories. Additionally, we are working on content for animated shows, live action shows, novels, screenplays, and much, much more. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the cool t-shirts and apparel designs we've created with our characters. It truly is a fun, exciting thing we do here at The Creative Extreme. While we dream of having some huge company or angel investor infuse us with all the money we'd ever need to make all the amazing content for our readers and customers we could possibly imagine, we have decided not to sit and wait for said infusion. Instead, beginning in 2016, we have used our own resources to set our content creation in motion. The writing part is easy, as me and my writing partner Chris have ideas and stories for days. However, our artistic skills in other areas are not very refined at all. Because of that, we've conscripted and built a network of nearly 30 artists, graphic designers, musicians, editors, voice actors, audiovisual people, and more to bring our stories and characters to life. All of these amazing individuals work on commission and retainer, as we believe in paying people for their work. Up until this point, our day jobs, along with a small bit of merchandise sales, have allowed us to do what we do. But if we're gonna take the Creative Extreme to the next level of creativity, including more art, more comic strips, more sweet apparel, short films, and more, we're gonna need your help. Please consider becoming a monthly supporter of the Creative Extreme. Any amount would be incredibly helpful as we aim to create more and more content for you to read, watch, look at, listen to, wear, and experience. Remember, when you give to the Creative Extreme, you're also supporting a number of creative individuals who all have the same goal of entertaining and inspiring others. This is an amazing endeavor, if we do say so ourselves. If you need a little more motivation, check out our rewards page. We have t-shirts, hoodies, posters, and more for those who jump on board and give us a little extra fuel for our ascent. Thanks for taking some time to learn a little bit more about us. This is the Creative Extreme, where imagination without limitation is the only expectation.
So needless to say, check out our sponsor, the Creative Extreme, Stefan Thomas, who's also a part of the Team Bandwagon team. Hopefully he's coming out soon. I'd love to have him on the show again. He's a very busy man as well. Maybe I'll be one of our guests while Jamal's taking a sabbatical. So it's week 16 coming up. Actually, it's Thursday while I'm recording this. We'll see when we get this up. So there's a game tonight. I'm trying to remember who played. I'll look it up right now. But week 14, 15, we didn't get to talk, which bums me out as a Titan fan because I didn't get to talk to you guys about that Derrick Henry 99-yard touchdown run. I was beyond ecstatic. I mean, I have told everyone since they drafted this dude, which I'm sure I'm not the only one, he was a Heisman winner, that I can't wait till he breaks out of his shell. And it's been the most frustrating, 3 years that he's been playing for him because they keep putting him behind DeMarco Murray, who wasn't playing well last year especially. He was hurt. He's retired. Now they get Dion Lewis. And then they got him sitting behind him. And again, don't get me wrong, Dion Lewis is great. But you got a 250-pound, 6'2" running back who can just truck guys and also gets up to speeds of almost 23 miles an hour, if I remember right. That guy needs to get the football, and he needs to get it more. And they need to create more routes for him. They need to create options for him. And now he's earned what they're calling an Earl Campbell role. Hopefully he can just come in and take over games. He had 238 rushing yards in that game, 4 touchdowns, 99-yard touchdown run. I think it was better than the Dorsett run, personally, the way he can stiff-arm dudes like that. He had 3 defenders actually all tried to bring him down, took them all out one at a time, made the 99-yard run while booking it. It's absolutely awesome play. I had people hit me up who had never been Titan fans, and they're just like, you got to be happy with what you're seeing from this guy right now. And then he blows up again last week. Another awesome game. It's about time. It's about time. Anybody, almost anybody and everybody was starting to really doubt that they were going to invest heavily in this guy. There was a rumor right before the trade deadline that they were going to move him. No teams were really interested. So it was really disheartening. I've said it for the last 2 years. This team has way too much talent to continuously go around 500 and miss the playoffs. I'm just tired of seeing it. They got a lot of talent on that team, but continuously don't play like it. So I'm hoping that they can finish the season strong and make the playoffs. They got the Redskins this weekend. They shut out the Giants last weekend. And I know that sounds, obviously it's the Giants, they suck. But the Giants were on a 2 or 3 game winning streak. They dropped 40 points against Washington. And again, you could say it's Washington, but 40 points is 40 points, especially when it's a bad team. Titans shut them out, though. Play great football. Showed that their defense can play. I hope to see more from them. I hope Derrick Henry continues to play like this, because I don't see the Titans going deep if they do steal a playoff spot. They're not going to win the division, but right now you have all the division leaders, and the Titans are just outside the wild card. We'll see how they finish out the year. They got 2 games left. Hopefully they continue to play well. We're playing the Redskins this weekend, who are also playing for a playoff spot. But we all know their situation with their quarterback. Adrian Peterson's not playing well. Chris Thompson is playing hurt. He's supposed to show up this weekend, but I don't think he's going to be 100%. And now they might go without Vernon Davis and Josh Dotson this weekend as well. So, quick breakdown of the NFL standings right now. Who are the division winners and who's going to hold on? Who's obviously in, who's maybe in, who's obviously out. New England was winning the AFC East, obviously, as they have almost every year for the last nearly 20 years. They don't officially have it locked up. They're 9-5. The Dolphins are 7-7, so that gives them a two-game stretch. The Patriots have lost 2 in a row. One of them being to the Dolphins, the Miami Miracle. We didn't get to talk about that either, which was cool to see. I'm not a Dolphin fan by any imagination, but that was an awesome play to see. And it was kind of cool to see Patriot fans get put in their place, because they were just excited that they held on to a 5-point lead over a Dolphins team that hasn't been that great. But then they lose to Pittsburgh. Jamal's been saying, I'm not afraid of Pittsburgh. You always have to be afraid of Pittsburgh. And I'm not happy to say that, because I don't want them to get any more Super Bowls. I want other teams to catch them, so I don't have to constantly hear 6 Super Bowls every time, you're arguing football with a Steeler fan. But, it's no animosity. The Steelers are a good football team, and they are a threat. So Patriots, are 9-5. They're going to win their division. How much of a threat they are in the playoffs is really up to Tom Brady. This dip and dunk stuff, he doesn't seem like a big threat. Their running backs haven't been playing as well lately. But they're the Patriots, and it's Bill Belichick. Who's to say he's not going to turn it on in the playoffs and get it going? So that's enough said. I'm not going to crap on the Patriots and put my foot in my mouth when they blow up in the playoffs. Pittsburgh's holding on to the AFC North. I do think they hold on and win the division. The Baltimore Ravens are 8-6. The Steelers are 8-5-1. So that tie is what's holding them above the Ravens right now. The Ravens, if they make the playoffs, which right now they're holding on to a wild card, do not scare me in the least bit. I know Lamar Jackson's played really well for them, and good for them. It's a little different style of football. Teams are having a hard time keeping up with it. But taking on a team, you got to think who they got to go through. They got to go through the Patriots. They got to go through the Steelers. They got to go through the Chiefs. They got to go through the Chargers, and we'll get into that too. How tough that those 2 teams in the AFC West are. Houston, 10-4. They're going to win their division. Same thing. They've got a 2-game lead over Indy and Tennessee. Don't see them losing out the last 2 games. They're very tough at home. Great defense. I think they're the best defense in the league right now. You could argue Chicago. I think you could argue Baltimore. But to me, Houston has the best all-around defense in the league right now. And then, like I said, Indiana and Tennessee, both on the outside looking in, trying to get that wild card to make the playoffs. Have the same record as Baltimore. Tennessee's lost to Baltimore, and I think Indy's lost to Baltimore as well. So Baltimore holds on to that one right now. And then you've got the really super, super, super competitive AFC West. And when I say competitive, I just mean the top 2 teams. With they're both of them are 11-3. They're 3 losses each. You combine those 6, obviously, right? If you miss math class, they still have less losses than the Broncos. So 2 really great football teams, and I have been touting the Chargers since the beginning of the year. I know I always like to brag about me being right, but Jamal is super skeptical because they're his team. Nobody ever wants to jinx their team. Nobody ever wants to say, oh, it's our year, unless you're a Patriot fan. But the Chargers are super deep, and I think they are all around a more complete team than the Chiefs. And I think you saw that last weekend, which, yes, the Chiefs are just so magical on offense, and they actually played pretty good defense in the first half. Not great, but good. Got a 14-0 lead, ended up leading 28-14 with, 5 or 6 minutes to go in the game. Chargers come back, get the 2-point conversion, and get the win. And now these 2 teams are tied in their division at 11-3. The tiebreaker right now goes to the Chiefs for a better division record. We'll see how the season finishes out. If both teams finish at 11-3, it'll be interesting to see who will get the tiebreaker and who wins the division, yada, yada, yada. Right now, like I said, it goes to the Chiefs, which is going to be heartbreaking for the Chargers because that means they got to win on the road the entire way to the Super Bowl. And they might do that at 13-3. That doesn't seem fair to me. That doesn't seem right. People are calling for a change in the way they do the division breakups and the playoffs. But no, I think you got to leave it alone. But I hope that the Chargers can show something this year. I hope they can show that they're legitimate. I hope they can get out of the first round of the playoffs at least. And I hope to see the Chargers and Chiefs play again in the playoffs because that game was just awesome. And the Chargers are figuring out who they are. They've got Joey Bosa back. They've got Melvin Gordon back. Keenan Allen is now expected to play. I know I was literally just talking about it, but I was reading about it in a commercial break. He's expected to play this weekend. Mike Williams has come out of his shell. Tyrell Williams is a deep threat. And, they've got the legend Antonio Gates there, too, who hasn't done a whole lot, but he's still playing. That's my rant. I think the Chargers are a very good football team, and I hope they do something. You got the NFC and the division that everybody's waiting to see what happens on pins and needles, right? Because you guys are all super interested. Feel that a real Super Bowl contender can come out of the NFC East again, right? Yeah, that's going to happen. No, I didn't think so either. Cowboys got shut out last weekend by the Colts. And you can say, well, the Colts are playing really good football right now. But they don't have a great defense, guys. And shutouts don't happen in the NFL very often anymore. And there's reason for that. All the new offensive rule changes, yada, yada, yada. They got Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper has been blowing up since he's gone to Dallas. They got shut out by the Colts. Just 0, don't it? So if the Cowboys hold on and win this division, which I do think they will, I don't know. The Eagles did beat the Rams, keeping it within a game. We'll see how the season finishes. But no matter who comes out of this division, I cannot, in my right mind, I know we've talked about any given Sunday, anything can happen. I cannot in any way whatsoever think they get out of the first round. I don't care who they're playing. They get some wild card like Seattle. Seattle's the favorite to get the 5 right now. They could get Minnesota. Either way, they're not going anywhere. I guess the only way that it would happen is if somehow one of the NFC East teams also steals a wild card. You got 2 NFC East teams playing each other. Excuse me. Otherwise, nobody from this NFC East is going to get a playoff win. I just don't see it happening. They're not legitimate. The Eagles, I don't know what happened in the offseason. Maybe people figured them out. Carson Wentz has not looked like the MVP he did last year. And he's hurt again. And Nick Foles, Super Bowl winning quarterback, good for him. He is kind of looking like he did when he went to the Rams. He just doesn't look like a starter in the league anymore. He's serviceable. He's probably the best backup in NFL football. But, you know, to win another Super Bowl, you can only win the lotto once. Chicago, easily going to make the playoffs. Scary football team. Khalil Mack has more sacks than the entire Raiders team combined. Thanks, John Gruden. People in Chicago should be happy. Minnesota, I do think, will somehow steal that last playoff seed. I do think they're a threat. No more Minnesota Miracles, though. They will not go far in the playoffs. I know they were my team. I was touting at the beginning of the year, but there's just something about Kirk Cousins and that offensive coordinator they just fired. That team has just not looked the same as they did last year. Hopefully a bright future, though. You know, Delvin Cook is really panning out, and they've still got Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. New Orleans, easily in the playoffs. Should have home field all the way through. I don't see them losing another game until the end of the year, especially not 2 games, because they did beat the Rams. They would get the tiebreaker, even if they did lose one more. Carolina's going to miss, which I think is just ridiculous. I think there's too much talent on that team to not at least steal a wild card. You know, beginning of the year, we were talking about how tough the NFC South was going to be because you had the Saints, Panthers, and Falcons all make the playoffs last year. So this year, it'll just be the Saints. So the only one Jamal and I got right out of predicting our teams was that the Saints would make it, and I think we did say they would be the toughest team out of this division. Rams, they're the Rams. I think that's the most talked about NFL team in football right now. They're going to make the playoffs. Obviously, they're going to be a threat. They got to get a first-round bye. I don't think they have anything that's threatening that. No, that's not true. If they tie the Bears, so they can't lose any more games, because if the Bears win out and say the Rams lose one more and they both go 12-4, the Bears would get the tiebreaker because they beat the Rams. So the Rams can lose home field advantage all the way through. They could lose their bye week. And it wouldn't be all the way through, obviously. Again, the Saints would still have all the way through, but one more team ahead of you getting that home field, especially trying to win in Chicago in December, that's going to be tough for an LA team. Seattle will probably make the playoffs. Russell Wilson, one of the greatest players ever, because Seattle is not a good football team. They've got some pieces, but Russell Wilson's really carrying that team. So without beating a dead horse, you know, we're going over these teams, and we do this every week. But this is the final stretch of the year. I think it's kind of cut and dry of who's going to make the playoffs in the NFC. I don't see anyone squeezing in front of Minnesota and Seattle. I think they both make it. AFC is a little tougher. You got Baltimore, Indiana, and Indianapolis and Tennessee fighting for that last wild card. And somehow Baltimore might be able to sneak in and get ahead of Pittsburgh too. But we'll see. I kind of see it playing out the way it is right now. I think everybody stays where they're at. I'm hoping Tennessee finds a way to squeeze in and steal a wild card, but they've got a tough road because Baltimore and Indianapolis are both playing good football right now. That being said, you know, I just read about this. You know, Josh Gordon is suspended again for another drug violation, and I think this is just ridiculous. I'm so tired of seeing this. You know, the guy is given chance after chance after chance. Yes, he's got talent, and he just keeps throwing it away. I'm not even going to dive too much more into it than that. It's just ridiculous. You know, we'll see. You know, with these teams now, you got the Niners and the Raiders fighting to see who's going to get the worst spot to get the number 1 pick. I don't think teams are tanking, though, because they're saying no quarterbacks are going to go top 5 in this draft. So I'm interested to see what quarterbacks are going to do in the draft next year. I like Will Grier out of West Virginia. I don't know too much about the other guys. From I understand, the kid from Oregon is supposed to be really good. We'll see what happens. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I just went on a really long rant about NFL football. You know, send me in your votes for MVP. I personally don't see how you can't give it to Drew Brees with how good the Saints are, possibly the best record in football. I guess you can make an argument for Todd Gurley, of course. I think Jared Goff has disqualified himself from the conversation in the last few weeks. He's not playing well. Mitch Trubisky, you can't really say because he's missed so many games with injury, and he's not putting up a record-setting year. And he's not doing it by himself out there, obviously. Coach of the year. Talk about McVay. Talk about the Bears coach. You can probably talk about Sean Payton. There's a lot of different options. I think defensive player of the year. You still talk about Khalil Mack, but he's missed games as well. A lot of interesting things going on. But we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot coming up. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And then we're going to get into the NBA and all the problems that it's having. And we're not even halfway through the year.
With two in trouble. Forced up and in. Unbelievable.
Get the latest info on Never Lose Again podcast, Bandwagon Nation, and much more by following us on Twitter at Never Lose Again, where the E's are threes. Jump on Team Bandwagon. Never lose again.
So, Jamal made this graphic, and I think he did a really good job with it. If you can't tell what we're going to talk about starting off, the NBA has an issue that they've had for a really, really long time. Just in different, I think it's evolved in different ways. Flopping, drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line. It's been a problem for a really long time in the league. They cracked down on it years ago. I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago when they started making the rule to fine players for flopping too much. Blake Griffin, I think, was the worst in the NBA at the time. For a guy who's a bull in the china shop and likes to jump over people and throw his weight around, he flopped a lot, and it seemed to crack down on him a lot. Kind of cracked down on LeBron as well. Made some changes. But right now, I don't understand when you can make that rule, and it does seem to have made a difference with a lot of players. And then you got a player like James Harden, who I think is the worst flopper in NBA history, and gets away with so much. And I know he's fast, and I know he's studied the game. He's built it. He's a great shooter. I don't want to take away from his talent as a scorer. But a large part of his game is getting to the free throw line, and he knows how to do it. He knows how to get the refs to give him what he wants. I don't know if you guys have seen the replay. There's GIFs of it. There's memes about his step-back three-pointer and how much he travels during it. He travels during his Euro step, all this stuff. And again, I know he's fast. My nose is really bothering me. Sorry, guys. I know he's fast, and I know it's hard to keep up with. I know I could not be an NBA ref. It's probably the toughest job in the world with how fast these guys are nowadays. But, if the picture on the screen doesn't say it all, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? LeBron guarding Chris Paul with his hands behind his back, because Chris Paul does it too. The Rockets are just notorious for doing it. The way that, you guard them like this, right? You got your hands out, you got your ball hand, and then your other hand up ready to block a shot or a pass. And a player can draw themselves under your arm and just throw their arms under you and get a call when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing is just ridiculous, and the league needs to change it. I know Stephen A. was talking about it. A lot of people are talking about it right now, and I played basketball in high school. I know a lot of people who played basketball in high school and collegiate level, and it's just, we're all in agreement that this is ridiculous and it's taken from the sport. I was hoping the Rockets would beat the Warriors last year, but this is just, it's gotten so annoying and so bad, and call me biased because I know they've had 2 bad games against the Lakers where things have gotten really chippy. But I don't want to see the Rockets do well. I hope they continue to struggle, and I hope they miss the playoffs because this is taken from the sport. And it's just dirty and it's ugly. And if Adam Silver doesn't do something about it, it's going to hurt the sport. It's going to hurt ratings, plain and simple. Sorry, Rocket fans, you got the dirtiest team in the league, just in their own special way. They got to make a change. They got to do something. We're all tired of seeing it. I know Jamal's tired of seeing it. I was supposed to get him on a phone call for this session, but we were having technical difficulties, so we're going to try to save that for the next episode. But we're all frustrated. The Rockets can get under your skin because of how much they flop and get to the free throw line. I'll try to get some statistics for you guys and maybe put them up on Twitter later of how many free throws they're shooting compared to the rest of the NBA, but I guarantee you they lead it. I'm willing to bet money on it. If I'm wrong, you guys get a candy cane. But it'll be interesting. The Rockets they got to change it. They have to change it. And I'm not just saying it's just James Harden. You know, you have a lot of players around the league, and I know LeBron is notorious for it too. We'll see what happens. I don't see anything changing in the middle of the year, but hopefully it'll change as of next year. Maybe they'll start looking at it during the summer. Maybe the owners meeting, they can talk about it. One of the things I did want to talk about was the Raptors. I've done it about 3 times in the show already, talking about how right I am and me getting this prediction right and that prediction right. And even though I said the Raptors would be good, my doubt in them was whether Kawhi Leonard would be fully committed to this team and how good they could be without him. I am so eating crow right now. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the Raptors are very scary, and I do think they can beat any team in the playoffs, in the regular season, including the Warriors. This is an incredible basketball team. The way they smashed the Warriors last week without Kawhi Leonard. That's what you guys need to wrap your brain around, right? Take a second and really, anything can happen during the regular season. You know, things happen, flukes happen. But the Raptors have shown consistently that they can play without Kawhi. And then when he's out there, he's playing like the best player in the league right now. And that's not me saying he is the best player. But the value he brings to the floor, the difference he makes out there, he is the claw again. He's playing phenomenal defense. He's such a scoring threat when he's out there. He always has been. People don't talk about it. He's just a great all-around player. He's one of the strongest players in the league. He rebounds well. And again, just going back to his defense, he can defend anybody in the league better than I've ever seen, especially with today's rules. You know, you can't defend the way that you used to. It's a lot less physical. People flop more. They get to the line more. The hand-checking rules, yada, yada, yada. The NBA, it's harder to guard more than ever, and Kawhi is doing it probably better than ever. So he's phenomenal. I hope he doesn't stay in Toronto. I hope he comes to Los Angeles, the Lakers. Supposedly he's looking at the Clippers right now. I'd rather he stay in Toronto than go to the Clippers. But we'll see what he does. Either way, he's going to create a legacy wherever he goes. We'll see what happens. But Toronto is a real threat, and I hope they get to the finals because I do think they can beat Golden State in a 7-game series. I know everything's coming out right now of, Klay's the third option on Golden State, and look what he's doing. Steph Curry's one of the best players in the league. Kevin Durant, arguably the second best player in the league, probably the greatest scorer of all time, and they're getting DeMarcus Cousins back in a couple weeks. Great, I understand all of that, and I acknowledge all of that, and I still think the Warriors on paper are the best team in basketball, and they'll still be favored going to the finals no matter who they play. But I think Toronto has a legitimate chance, and it would not be a fluke if they beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. Sorry, get my coffee. Denver is still tough. They're 21-9, still holding on to the West. I hope they continue it. I hope that Golden State has to go through some road games in the playoffs. The Lakers have the 4th seed in the West. The Lakers are finally good again. Good to see. They just lose some dumb games, though, don't they? They've already gotten swept by Orlando. They lost a ridiculous game to Washington the other night. They have got to turn it around. They're tied with Portland right now at 18-13, but we'll see what happens. One of the teams that I'm interested in, and it's not fair because they just got 20 years, and he's still playing actually, but they just got 20 years out of Dirk Nowitzki, considered the greatest European player of all time. That's hard to argue. And now they've got Luka Doncic, who's probably the next version of the greatest European player of all time. And he's unreal. How many teams passed up on this dude is unreal. His step back jumper is awesome. He's a super tall point guard. We've talked about that. His passing ability. He is everything Ricky Rubio was supposed to be and more. He's just unreal. And I think a player like this only comes once every few years. A guy in the draft that everybody is shocked by, that changes the league, that when you play against his team, you have to prepare for him before you prepare for the team. LeBron James, Kevin Durant-esque player. I do think Luka Doncic is up there. I think he'll be a top 5 player in the NBA when he really starts to come into fruition. As long as he stays healthy, this guy is for real. And Jump on his bandwagon while you still can. Maverick fans, congratulations. You guys did something right. Excuse me. Atlanta fans, enjoy Trae Young. But, yeah, that's my rant. I think Toronto right now is the scariest team in basketball. I'm glad to see Boston finally turn it around. I know they were on a 7-game winning streak, but now they're on a 2-game losing streak. So just when I get excited about them, they're actually on an 8-game winning streak. Now they're on a 2-game losing streak. Kyrie's finding his rhythm, this, that, and the other. 2-game losing streak. I don't know. I still don't know what to make of Boston. I still think they're a threat in the East. Milwaukee and Toronto are tied with the amount of losses. Toronto's won 3 more games, but Philadelphia's up there, obviously. Getting Jimmy Butler was awesome. Indiana, still a good basketball team. The rest of the team, I don't think there's anybody really worth talking about. I don't like Detroit, Charlotte, Orlando to really get anything done. In the West, Rockets are back in it. They're in the playoff hunt. So is San Antonio. Dallas is just 1 game out on the outside looking in. Phoenix looks like they'll get another high draft pick. Chicago will get another high draft pick. Atlanta, Cleveland, New York, Knicks. All going to be fighting over which Duke player they're going to get, I guess. We'll see. So, Christmas games are coming up. Lakers are going to be playing the Warriors. That's how I'll be spending my day. Spending time opening gifts, obviously, in the morning, and then we'll be watching the Laker game. We'll see what happens from there. But, that's enough NBA talk. We start off every week, usually with football and basketball. We got more football talk, but not NFL. So, I'm going to go ahead and skip the commercial break. We're going to go straight into the next football, and we are going to talk about college football. So, unless you're like an Ohio State fan or who is the other, a Georgia fan, there is really nothing worth talking about except the college football playoffs, at least not as far as I'm concerned, because UCLA is one of the worst teams in football right now, which is going to change. Chip Kelly's there. But, we've got the college football playoff coming up December 29th. I talked about that earlier. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Let's look and see if any of the bowl games from last week were any good. The Bad Boy Mowers, Gasparilla Bowl, Marshall, and USF. Actually, that game is today. We are Marshall. Go Marshall. Tulane beat Louisiana last week. Utah State over North Texas. Fresno State over Arizona State. Yeah, nothing really worth talking about. I'm sure there'll be some guys that'll come out in the draft and you'll hear these schools' names behind them. But otherwise, nothing really too exciting about these games. The big bowl games, are obviously, again, the playoff games. Cal and TCU, not excited. Baylor Vanderbilt, not excited. Maybe the Camping World Bowl. You got West Virginia and Syracuse. Like I said, I like the quarterback out of West Virginia there. That's a 16 and 20 ranked in the nation teams battling out on Friday, December 28th after Christmas. You got Washington State and Iowa State and the Valera Alamo Bowl. That's also the same day. They're both ranked teams. Florida and Michigan, Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Peach Bowl. 7 and 10 seeds. We'll see what happens there. But I'll talk about what you guys wanted me to talk about. Playoffs. Alabama, Oklahoma. That's the first and foremost because Alabama's the 1 seed. I want to get this one done and over with. We said it when Jamal and I talked about it a few weeks ago. I think Alabama wins this game and they win handily. The only way Oklahoma has a chance is Mr. Heisman himself, Kyler Murray. He has to have the absolute game of his life, which it's in him, okay? This guy won the Heisman for a reason. He's a junior. He's 5'10". He's kind of small. I'm interested to see if he's able to make it in the pros. But the guy's throwing 70% completion rate, 4,053 passing yards, and 40 passing touchdowns. Like, that's not anything to sneeze at, guys. Like, he's unreal. And you got to remember that this guy can also run. So to count Oklahoma out completely is unfair. Not to Oklahoma, it's unfair to Kyler Murray. The guy is real. And I hope they find a way. I hope they upset Alabama, because I think it would be the greatest upset in the short window of college football playoff history that we've had. Baker Mayfield wasn't able to do it for Oklahoma, and look how awesome he is. So I hope Kyler Murray can show us what he's got. Notre Dame and Clemson, I think I've touted Notre Dame's name all year, and there's good reason for it. But they are predicted to lose this. They are underdogs, 13 points? I want to say it was 13 or 14 points. I'm looking at it right now. They are 13-point underdogs, which I don't think is fair. I know Clemson's great. I know they're undefeated. I know they're in the ACC, which is not a division to sneeze at. But, like Florida State is not the team to beat anymore. So out of teams they've played, I don't think there's anybody to really go, wow, they beat that team. Notre Dame, on the other hand, started the season beating Michigan. Close game, 24-17. Michigan right now is 7 in the nation. So, tough game. They barely beat Ball State, barely beat Vanderbilt. Crushed Wake Forest, nothing to really talk about there. Beat Stanford, they were underdogs in that game. They crushed them 38-17. Big game against Pitt. That's always a great game because that's one of their rivals. They beat them 19-14. Crushed Navy, crushed Northwestern, crushed Florida State, crushed Syracuse, who Syracuse right now I think is 20th in the nation. Beat USC by 1 touchdown. Okay, yeah, again, they should have won that game by more. But again, rivalry game. Those games are going to be closer. What worries me about Clemson is who they've played. I mean, honestly, I listen to some of these names of the teams they beat. Furman, Texas A&M. I know Texas A&M is a big name, but they're not ranked this year, and they beat them by 2 points. Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech, Syracuse. Okay, Syracuse they're ranked right now. Wake Forest, NC State, Florida State, Louisville, Boston College, Duke, South Carolina, and Pitt. Now, a lot of those teams are, Notre Dame beat as well. But when I hear names like Duke, when I hear names like South Carolina has not been good in a long time. Texas A&M's nothing. And then Furman, isn't he? Write me and do not look it up. But tell me if you knew off the top of your head the second I said that name, if you knew where Furman is. Okay? Just Clemson hasn't beat anybody tough for me. So to favor them by 13 points isn't fair. I do think they win this game because they have so much talent. And that defense is just still nothing to sneeze at. Coaching is still great. They changed quarterbacks this year. Trevor Lawrence is a freshman. But look at these guys' numbers. 65% completion rate, 2,600 yards, 24 passing touchdowns. His touchdown to interception ratio is ridiculous. 24 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Clemson will probably win this game if I had to put my money on it. But don't count Notre Dame out. I don't think 13 points is a good spread. If you're a betting man, I actually take Notre Dame and the point spread in this game. I think it's going to be closer than they think. Oklahoma is pretty, Alabama's 14-point favorites in that game as well. It's going to go one way or the other. It's going to be super close because Kyler Murray goes off, or it's going to be an absolute blowout, and Alabama wins by way more than 14 points. Well, it's going to be about game flow. It's going to be about coaching. We'll see, because Alabama nearly lost to Georgia as well. So you never know what's going to happen. I would not take the spread in that game, just simply because what Kyler Murray can do. But I'd probably just stay away from that game because it's too unpredictable. And then we'll see about, who makes it a championship. Either way, I think Alabama takes it this year. Kyler Murray definitely deserves the Heisman. But Tua obviously is an awesome quarterback as well. He's going to be interested in the NFL, a left-handed runner coming out of Alabama. He'll be interested in the pros, but we'll see what happens there. I guess there's not really too much more to talk about. We'll start finding out more and more, during training camps and this, that, and the other around spring of who's going to be tough next year. All the guys will be committed by then. We'll see what happens, but right now, it's cut and dry feeling that Alabama's going to win another national title. We'll see if anybody can get in their way. But my favorite to get in their way right now is Oklahoma because simply Kyler Murray is that great of a college quarterback. I don't know about him being an NFL quarterback, but he'll be that great of a college quarterback. So there it is for college football playoff. I hope you guys watch the game. I'll try to be on Twitter and maybe hit you guys up on Periscope or something during the game. I'll try to get a show up before that as well. Maybe we'll have a special guest on. We'll get to talking about what's going to happen there. Maybe get Jamal on the phone or something. Around Christmas time, we both get a lot of days off, so we'll see what happens. But I want to close out the show today with a little segment called "I Have the Mic." Yes, it sounds a little gaudy, it's a little vain, but guess what? I have the mic, so it's okay. Just a new segment on the show. You know, a lot of people, and this is where I got the idea for the show, is that when you put yourself out there on a platform, well, there's many ways of doing it, right? We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts and Google Play and all this other stuff. You open yourself to criticism, and trust me, we've gotten our criticism. We did some bandwagon-worthy videos right before the NFL season started, talked about what NFL teams to jump on their bandwagon. And honestly, guys, it's all in fun. You know, we're not sitting here telling you to place your bets on this team and your bets on that team. And Jamal works his tail off. I'm going to give credit where credit's due here and not try to tout my own horn at all. Jamal edited the videos. Jamal got the videos up. And he did all the legwork. It takes some time to do it because we did it for 32 NFL teams. So by the time we got some of the videos out, some of the rosters had changed. Khalil Mack was on the Bears all of a sudden. Paxton Lynch had gotten cut. You know, this, that, and the other. And people had the most ridiculous criticisms coming after us. And the reason I bring this up is last week, Stephen A. Smith got to talking about the Chargers and Chiefs game and was talking about how he was excited to not only see Spencer Ware, who wasn't going to play in the game because he was hurt, and Max Kellerman reminded him of that very quickly, but then he also talked about how he was excited to see Hunter Henry play for the Chargers, who has not played a single snap this season because he's been out on IR. And you could see Teddy Bruschi could just kind of turn his head and he's confused, and Max Kellerman, you can tell, is obviously confused because Hunter Henry hasn't played a single game all year. This is a guy who makes millions of dollars a year to know what he's talking about, go on television, and tell you not only what he thinks is going to happen, what he's excited about in his opinion, but he's supposed to tell you what to watch for, and he's supposed to know what's going on. And he missed completely. And on one hand, yes, he deserves the criticism because this is what he gets paid to do. Do a little research, Steve, you know, before you go on air and start talking. But I also want to defend him for a minute because most people don't deal with criticism really well. I honestly think very few people on this planet deal with criticism, especially in the way that they're willing to dish it out. There's people who sit here and go on Twitter and call Stephen A. moron, and he should get fired, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And this guy gets paid to do this, and da-da-da-da. To say, hey, he missed the mark, for us to all laugh at him and kind of have a joke about it and just poke fun and say, hey, do a better job next time, I think is fair. But remember the way that you criticize somebody else, he's out on a public platform, so it's easy for you to do. Imagine someone showing up to your work and criticizing you the same way. Don't say you've never made a mistake at work, you know. And that's what I was going to get into was public platforms come in many different versions. He's on TV where millions of people a day see him. But what if you speak at a college campus, or what if you're a professor, or you're a teacher, or you're a pastor, or just so many of these different situations where people get to hear you publicly speak every single day, almost every single day. And they're all open to criticism. And I can't tell you how much we all hear. Teacher so-and-so doesn't know what he's talking about, or Professor so-and-so missed the mark on this, or I don't like the way that pastor talks about this, and I disagree with the way this church talks about that. Or you go to see a motivational speaker, and, well, I don't agree with the way he put that, or whatever it may be. This is what they get paid to do, and I think some criticism is fair, and they put themselves in this situation and they understand that. But to come at them and, you know, call them stupid, call them morons, to put them down, to tear people down who are do something that you would never in your life be willing to do, most of you, I just think is ridiculous. And because I have the mic, and I'm probably going to get flack for this too, just for criticizing you guys for your over criticisms. Like, come on, be fair, understand that they're doing the best they can. And even if they're not doing their best they can, Stephen A., you don't need to be ridiculous about it. These are still human beings. Just because you work somewhere where maybe you're just working on the drive-thru all day, I don't think you should be mistreated at work either. Or if you're the garbage man, nobody deserves to treat you that way. If you are a writer, nobody deserves to treat you that way. And I'm sure every once in a while you do. And it does bother you. Treat everybody with respect. Respect each other, love each other, look out for each other. It's the holiday season, but try to remember 12 months out of the year that we're all human beings. There's 7 billion people on this planet. Share the planet the best you can. Treat each other the way you want to be treated. And understand the next time, before you start criticizing somebody on a public platform, that how well you would deal with that criticism if you received it. And don't try to say, well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say Hunter Henry was going to play when he didn't. In that situation, as long as Stephen A. has been on the air, you're going to make a mistake. We've only done this podcast for a year, and we've made mistakes. You've been at whatever job or whatever livelihood or raising your kids, and you've made mistakes. If somebody could walk around with a camera all day and see the mistakes you've made, you'd have a very different tone. So anyway, that's my rant. I have the mic. It's something I want to do new on the show now, where you guys just have to hear what I have to say. I have an idea what I want to do next week. But we'll see if we end up recording. Keep up with us. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm going to try to help keep up. Like I said, Jamal's very busy right now. But we're going to try to get some guests on. We'll have Jamal on, hopefully maybe via phone call soon. And hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much. I know I'm here by myself. I'm wired on coffee. And we'll see what other ideas we have for the show in the future. This is just us getting off the ground with just me doing solo for a little while. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, jump on Team Bandwagon and never lose again. There's an ender for you.